Okay, brilliant. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Hopefully, you all have had a good week. I've had a pretty decent week, I think. Nothing too mad. Yeah, hopefully, we're in Ireland. We're certainly gonna hopefully get out of this lockdown soon. And yeah, hopefully, you enjoy the show. Uh, this time, we're going to be talking about the downfall of the Chinese Super League. So this story came around. What was it? February, March time, like end of last month, beginning of this month. And I just really wanted to dive in depth into it, and maybe you can learn a bit as well as me into why the Chinese Super League has fallen. So yeah, I guess we'll just start off with the origins first. So the Chinese Super League, or the CSL, as I'm going to call it, emerged from a range of match fixing and gambling scandals in the 2000s. So it's a really new league, is what I'm trying to say. And they were going to try and follow the heavyweights of the world like Man City and PSG by tempting players and coaches with high wages in the hopes that the profitability of the league will increase. Unfortunately, the theory and execution of this idea was quite flawed because unlike the big leagues like France, Spain, England, the Chinese Super League had no big players to draw in viewers, no historic clubs, and it didn't have the advantage of having a language that is spoken across the world, like French, Spanish, or English. And when they did try to attract big players, they only really succeeded in getting players who we would say were past their prime. People like Didier Drogba and Carlos Tevez, who signed for Shanghai at 34 and 32 respectively. And while they were able to get in people like Oscar and Alex Teixeira. They're both cost over the odds, and it was really looked at with scorn rather than admiration by the rest of the world because they're obviously spending ridiculous amounts of money that people in Europe wouldn't really take. So that was that, and there was also a conflict. Oh, apologies. And there was also a conflict of interest between organizations who wanted to make a profit and the government and the Chinese government, which was led by Xi Jinping, who wanted the league to improve domestic players and build an elite national team with the aim of hosting and winning a World Cup by 2050. And for a while, it appeared as if both desires could be served by a prospering domestic division, but all this was about to unravel. So the Chinese FA believed that by bringing these foreign names such as Tevez and Drogba, that it would improve the domestic players and coaches who would benefit from improved training standards, role models, and competition. As a result of this, Chinese footballers would have the necessary tools to develop into elite footballers, which would in turn improve their standing in the sport. However, the Chinese authorities would soon begin to question that plan. And in 2017, they took drastic measures. So they imposed a 100% tax on fees for foreign players, capped salaries at £2.6 million, and set an overall wage bill limit of £66 million, which, if you want to compare that to Europe, that's about the equivalent of the wage bill of Crystal Palace. So obviously they won't be able to bring in as many good players, which is obviously not good for the league. But they didn't stop there. In 2020, there was a ruling that declared that clubs should remove sponsors from their names and crests. And this ruling affected 12 clubs, and it was implemented to discourage corporate sponsorship and encourage foreign investment, but it could have come at a worse time, obviously with coronavirus. Despite being a global business with European football being valued at £25 billion, owning a football club, as we all know, or as we should know, isn't a great way to make money. While a club's value will increase every year, it rarely turns into profit. Most clubs are bought to promote their business, or to sell a business for a profit later down the line. So I can think of, well, I guess if we think of, I don't know, Roman Abramovich, for example, he bought Chelsea to sell it for a profit later down the line, which he definitely has done. There's no doubt about that. And the Qataris have bought PSG to build a positive image of the Qatari regime, or to like, yeah, build a positive image of the Qatari regime to cover the creases of their human rights issues and other issues that we won't get into. With the ban on companies being on the names of clubs and companies which own the clubs, as a consequence of this, the clubs aren't able to sell the clubs due to the economic turmoil, and this meant that the clubs became a burden to their owners, and this spelled bad news for the companies like Suning, who are one of China's largest retail firms, who owned Jiangsu Suning and also Inter Milan in Serie A. According to The Athletic, Suning's share price has been halved since 2018, and multiple rescue plans have failed. And as a result, they have had to sell 23% of their assets to the state. Suning have now oriented back to their retail business, swaying away from the high-cost, low-profit football. And obviously, Jiangsu, the football club, isn't fitting in with that image. So I'm pretty sure, towards the end of last month, they were given winding up orders, and this is just one of the consequences of the Chinese ruling on banning corporate entities being involved in Chinese football. And I guess one question that you will be asking yourselves is, well, what's going to happen now? Well, while the CSL hasn't been able to establish itself as one of like the big world leagues, it doesn't exactly mean that it's failed. The Chinese government's interference in the league may have made foreign investment difficult, but the positive effects of the investment will be felt for decades. For example, the 100% tax on foreign transfers that was mentioned earlier was used to fund youth development across the nation, and the Chinese government aims to have 50,000 academies in place by 2025, which translates to about a football pitch for every 10,000 Chinese by 2030. And in a country of 1.4 billion, means there will be about 140,000 pitches in China. And also the introduction of new refs such as Mark Clattenburg, who obviously came from the Premier League, has helped to improve the officiating in China, which, as I mentioned already, was kind of had a bad name due to like corruption and all this kind of stuff. And also had a positive effect on support, with attendance rising from 14,000 per game in 2010 at the start of the decade to 25,000 a game in 2019. And as a result, by focusing on youth development, like the US has, I guess, with SC Dallas partnering with Bayern Munich, football in China could become a formidable force in the years to come. So while the league has failed, it's certainly the investment and the money that has been that has come true has, definitely helped the Chinese league, or helped Chinese football, and possibly we might be seeing the Chinese future golden generation in the years to come. But who knows? I guess we'll have to wait and see. So that's the video for today. If you liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to watch any of the other shows on the channel. And I'll see you all next week. And have a good one. Goodbye, everyone.